Okay, so I quick want to respond here. I think this was Zarkov who had suggested that higher primates share with humans this capacity to feel or recognize injustice. And I don't want to challenge that claim. I guess I want to agree that animals do certainly have some kind of conceptualization. It's for too long that people have thought that animals don't have an intelligence. If anything, the human animal is the most plastic animal, the most rounding, and I mean, right now, cultural evolution is radically outstripping natural evolution. We're changing, humans are changing at a rate through cultural evolution that's surpassing natural evolution. That's part of the difficulty that people, I think, have when they try to understand how some of this is related to questions of language and to larger communicative phenomena. And just to support that, I want to make this a little bit clearer. If you have a chimp, a higher primate, and you put it into a room and you have a small box and then a big box, and in the big box you have a banana, it will eventually learn that that banana is in there. It'll dig around. If you put it into another room and you have, say, an oval tub and then a bigger tub, and you have a banana in the bigger tub, it will find that a little bit quicker, and then in the next room that you bring that chimp, the larger item, no matter what shape it is, no matter what's sort of configuration it has, it'll go to the bigger one to look for the food first. It obviously has a concept of bigger. There must be some notion that's you call it stimulus generalization, or the ability to equate the unequal, or some sort of concept, but the primate is able to recognize the bigger and go to it first, and it somehow is, again, it has some notion there. But the problem here is that that kind of conceptualization is still locally installed in the immediate surround. It's what's sometimes called hodological representation or hodological memory. The memory is there in the world. It's not free floating and in its capacity to be weaned out of that context and brought into any free play. That's what language does. Language radically transforms those kinds of concepts. And to say that animals have a similar notion of justice to us, I think it's more our appreciation for metaphor than that is a statement of fact about animal cognition. I think animal cognition is very rich, but it's not the kind of free-floating, radical consideration amidst absence. In fact, there have been lots of studies where, if a chimp is in a cage and it's able to see a stick and a box and things simultaneously, it will be able to process the information. But if you separate those elements off, its ability to abstractly piece together possibilities. Now, if it's seen it before, it's been taught, it's been trained, this is called behavioral synecdoche, there are these processes. We don't want to deny it. But we want to see the radical difference of what has happened to humanity. Humanity is somehow the place where transcendence has come home to roost. We're the way the world haunts itself as another. The only way that the earth could have itself is to haunt itself as another. If it was only itself, fully itself, without any distance from itself, it can't come to itself, know itself, encounter itself. And so what does it do? It loses itself in the spectacle of cosmos. I mean, it's, Alan Watts says it, right? Just as a tree flowers, so the earth peoples. Yeah, the earth peoples. We've come out of it, and then world emerges out of people who've emerged out of earth. Now, I think one way to get at this radical difference of what I mean by human transcendence, and to really talk about transcendence, is to address one way to get at, or to try to address this problem of transcendence by talking about three different modes of being. There's three different kinds of being, there seem to be anyway. One could be called what is the never was. It's the eternally present. It just sort of, it's so much of the now, so much of the is present that it never was. That it just never was. It just only is. There's a sort of mode of being that's in pure presence. Never was, it only is. Okay? The next mode of being could be called the indefinitely ongoing. The indefinitely ongoing. Now, by the indefinitely ongoing, I mean the various forms of biological life and biological process which has inwardness, and it has a biological beginning, it has a biological ending. There are pre-given ranges of the ontogenetic span of the various forms of life, but they're indefinite in that suddenly by an outside force that indefinitely ongoing stretch can be terminated. And so humans are part of the now we're all three, right? We're all three. Okay, so there's the never was, which is the purely now being of what is purely present. There's the indefinitely ongoing. It tarries and elongates. It stretches itself along. It's a retaining that awaits, and in many ways, it's carries itself along in that very stretch. The last one is the eternal, or the beyond all tenses. Beyond all tenses. There is a radical mode of being that is very similar to the present. It's very similar to the never was, but it's different. The beyond all tenses, the eternal, are the eternal forms, the per se, the beautiful per se, the perfect form of a circle, the perfect form, the essence of a thing. Now, the essence isn't somehow in the present, it's beyond the present. It's, now this would be the argument, basically only in the mode of the indefinitely ongoing, only in the mode of the perfection of that, where humans are, you might say, the fullest attenuation of the indefinitely ongoing, because they can imagine their own histories, the cosmological history of the universe. They can also imagine their own ultimate demise, and even possibly the end of existence itself. They can worry about future generations. It's only in the perfection of that, in the human, uniquely human capacity of language to be an event of indefinitely ongoing, that we can separate out the never was from the eternal. Without life, without the biological life of humanity in its perfection, the never was just too quickly resembles the eternal, the beyond all tenses. And its human life is that tarrying that opens to the capacity to taste the eternal. To taste the eternal is somehow separate from what's just simply now here. The now here does have the eternal, but only to that organism who is able to parcel them out and then see how they're related. It's the relation between and among what never was, what's indefinitely ongoing, and what eternally is beyond all tenses. Thanks.